Is VP people.
We are your hosts, Taylor and
Enrico.
This is Unfiltered Conversations
Global.
where we have the conversations that you want to have.
But you don't.
We have the conversations that you should have.
But you don't.
And the conversations that you overall just avoid. So jump in with us today for this episode of
Unfiltered Conversations Global.
Is VP people, welcome to Unfiltered Conversation Global. I'm here, your host, Eric, and my co-host.
Mr. Taylor is here as well.
You look sleepy.
Yeah, last night we had a birthday party at my house, and it was quite fun, as you know. So yeah, it was a good time. Today we're going to jump into a conversation that hopefully will stir a little bit of angst and a lot of opinions, and that topic is on dating. So let's start off with the Kenyan kind of perspective on, one, what does it look like for a believer to be dating in Kenya? What are the expectations? Is it okay to sleep around? Can you date multiple women at the same time? Where do you interact and find a person that you can, not multiple women or men, where do you find a person that you think would be good to date? How do you engage in this process? Is it something that is secretive? Because there's some different perspectives, I know, that between Kenya and America on a few of these issues that I'd love to unpack a little bit.
Dating in Kenya, if you're a believer, I think it's similar to how dating in America, because on the aspect of Christianity, you're expected to wait until you're married.
To date? That's not possible.
Not to date. Like, for example, when you're getting into relationship, most of dating nowadays happen with a bit of sexuality, which it has become too open nowadays. But as a Christian, you need to be accountable. Like, you need to have a group around you when you're dating so that you cannot fall into temptation. You need to avoid closed spaces, the two of you. You need
closed and unclothed spaces.
Yes. Yes.
For real.
Yeah, because you understand that feeling when you like someone and all the magic start happening on your body. You understand, like, the feeling when you see them is like the world, the time stops. You understand?
Yeah.
That's how intense dating is. And anything can happen. If you're not very careful, you might find yourself messing around. So you expected to be pure while you're dating, and it's a process that when you're dating, it's a process that leads to marriage. It's not a process where you are just dating to waste someone else's time, and then there's no test driving. You understand?
Yeah. So as far as dating here, you're saying the whole dating scene in general is very much focused on marriage?
That's what is usually the expectation when you're dating, because you've taken someone's daughter, or someone's daughter is with you, and why they look.
I just don't get that feeling from the people I talk to, that it's like, hey, you just date. You take a lady out, you meet her at the bar, you do X, Y, Z, and it's like...
You get to understand them. You get to know if you guys are good for one another, because, you cannot just get to know you're good for one another if you do not date, if you don't go out on some meals. So you're not able to... But, the intention when you start dating, the expectation is it needs to lead to marriage most of the time. But, if you guys are not compatible, then that can break, and then you can date someone else, because there's nothing, the problem is if you're dating and sexuality is involved.
Sexuality or sex?
Yeah, I was just trying to be a bit easy on it. So when sex is involved in dating, now you understand, now this is a different thing, because now you've you've engaged in something that you're not supposed to engage now. Even the person that you've engaged sex with, they expect something more from that relationship. You cannot engage in sex and then you drop those people, you go to another person. That's not the expectation of the Christian society around Kenya, which I think it's a bit similar to the US, because I think we've borrowed quite a lot of things from the Western culture. But I'm also looking at the traditional, like, I always try comparing this on how Kenya, traditional perspective was.
Oh, there's like three major factors really that you have to consider when talking about Kenyan culture. You have Nairobi,
Yes.
which is kind of a bubble in itself.
Yeah.
You have the traditional, like back in the day, tribal rights, tribal practices.
Yes.
And then you have kind of the general modern that exists in Kenya.
Yeah.
So I think that there's really three kind of sections now, three different partitions of Kenya that you really have to be considering and looking at. And the nice thing is that Kenya's in a spot to look at it and say, what's best, and let's do that.
Because in the past, like, if you're not serious with a lady, you cannot introduce them to your parent, or a lady. If you knew this was not going anywhere, you cannot introduce them to your parent, because like when you introduce someone to your parents, it was, this is
that's the expectation. It's like, okay, next we're talking to their parents.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a similarity in the U.S. that like meeting the parents is a big deal. I mean, there's the movie Meeting the Parents, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a big deal to engage with your person's, your spouse, your dating relation, whatever, that person's parents. Like it's a big deal. However, it is not as big as here.
Yeah.
Here in Kenya, it's like
it's
you
big.
Introduce one person to your parents.
Yeah.
Man, I can look back and like my parents met almost every girlfriend I ever had. Like they knew them, and so it's very different. Like, they come over for dinner, or like they come on a family outing or whatever it is. But here it's like there's this. I think, okay, when I say weird, it does not mean bad. Weird for me means out of the normal, right?
Yeah.
So it's weird how secretive and closed that interaction is, especially when you consider like arranged marriages of the past.
Yeah.
And that history is much closer to Kenya than it is for people in the US or in the West. And so it's really interesting how it's like swung this pendulum from like your parents, they find a bride for you and bam. Now to this where it's like I find a person and I keep that person completely secret until I'm 100% sure that I want to marry them. And then my parents find out.
Yeah. You're like, boom. Mom, dad, this is the person.
Yeah.
All other you can have friendship, but if they're not serious, you can keep them outside. But like the moment you become serious is when you're like, okay, Mom, I want you to meet someone. Yeah, and they know you're getting to that. But some places they still practice a place where your parents might suggest someone for you, probably neighborhood, like the way it used to be done the way it used to be done culturally. The ladies didn't have a say. You were just told you'll be married, and that was it. There was no courtship. There was no dating. That's what I'm trying to say. Nowadays, like specifically in the Nairobi context,
I sorry to interrupt you. Like, I wonder if it's like a reaction because dating was cool. It was part of a new culture coming, or westernization kind of happening, and but the parents still had this expectation, and so it's like you had to do it secretively, and then that kind of developed into the only time you talk to your parents about your dating is when you have a wife, for essentially a wife to bring.
Yes.
I wonder those type of things. They fascinate me. Like you just think about it, but I don't know that is accurate of why that happened. It's just thinking through that.
Yeah, because those were the things that we found. Like during our parents, it was different. Like now, because of modernization, I think now Nairobi, like in the aspect of Nairobi, is way more similar to the United States, Western culture that has been assimilated a lot. Like,
Because Nairobi is a hub of
Yeah.
finance and business.
Yes.
Yeah, of East Africa.
yeah. So, but if you go to these other towns, you'll see there's a lot of the aspect of traditional expectation when you're dating, and things like can you, when you're dating, do you kiss, or how do you relate
Oh man.
when you're dating?
Yeah, so that comes into a whole topic on its own.
Yeah.
Boundaries in dating. There's
Yeah.
there's a book on that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Most people,
Mm-hmm.
even like very dedicated followers of Christ, will kiss
Yeah.
before they're married.
Mm-hmm.
Some won't. Like my sister didn't kiss her husband before she got married.
Mm-hmm.
But that seems to be a line where it's kind of, the line isn't put there for unacceptability, because in dude, people do not show affection here. Like husband and wife do not show affection here the same way in the States. Like it is a stark difference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I don't think I've seen a Kenyan man kiss his wife.
You've not seen me kissing my wife, pecking my wife?
No. And it seems weird that it'd be like, well, I expect it. But I haven't seen you kiss your wife. but in reality, like, I mean, it's very, and talking to Kenyans who are a little bit more traditional, like, they're like, of course not. Like, why would we?
I think it still has some taboo in it.
Yeah.
There's that.
And it's not necessarily bad. It's just very, very different.
PDA.
Yeah. Like,
Public display of affection.
For sure.
I think we're still, like, it's still something that is not really embraced.
which is okay. I'm just
Yeah.
pointing out the difference. Like you asked about if in dating you kiss.
Yeah.
And because, and the reason I brought that into the marriage side of stuff is because when you show that, it's publicly displaying, like you said, it's publicly displaying like, this is my person,
Yeah.
you know, and it becomes very easy to recognize who is with who. Like, you're kissing this lady, must be your wife or your girlfriend. But if I see you kissing another lady, like the next day, that would be strange,
Very
you know.
strange.
And in America, it's like that guy's a player, or he's cheating on his wife, or whatever. To go that quickly, you know. And so, yeah, so doing that in dating, kissing in dating, is a line that most people in the U.S., especially secular world, of course, like there's no really set boundaries. Like some people will expect to have sex on the first date, like excluding those kind of extreme levels and focusing more on what we think is what we have experienced and think is best for the dating relationship. That you know, I look back to the time I was dating my wife, and I wish we hadn't ever kissed. Not because my wife's not a good kisser or me. Well, I think she might say, I don't know. We'll see. But because it just opens up a boundary. It opens up a path and a road that it doesn't bring a ton of benefits. You know, like you can look at, I try to look at a lot of things like, okay, at its very best, is this thing a positive? At its very best, is this thing a positive? At its worst, is it a negative, and what level of negative? And so kissing, at its very best, it could be a slight positive, like, you know, on scale of
like
positive 10 to negative 10. It could be like, to me, it could be like a 1 or a 2. Like, oh, you know, like you can really feel the chemistry. It's like, but really over the course of a 60-year marriage, how does that physical contact between your lips really measure anything?
Yeah.
But as far as the negatives, you know, it can lead to first base, second base, third base, home base, and then a destruction in the respect for one another because boundaries are being crossed that you don't want to cross, and sin has entered into a relationship in a very tangible and possibly damaging way. So So the negatives can be negative 8, 9, and really mess things up. So to me, it's like, okay, so if we don't engage in it all, we eliminate a negative 8 risk, we eliminate a negative 8 risk, and we eliminate a positive 1 or 2.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, that's a good trade. You know,
So like for you, like while you're dating, it's okay to kiss.
I said, like I don't necessarily think like you peck and bam, that's a sin. I think it just opens up to a road of temptation and struggle that there's a lot of other things that you need to figure out in that time in your relationship that you don't need to engage on that side of stuff. Again, I am not going to say it's a sin too. I'm not like, I don't think the Bible, I don't think you can show that in the Bible, but you know, it may be permissible, but it's not necessarily beneficial. So that's what I'm looking for is like, what benefits?
Or what can it lead to?
Yeah. I mean, both of those are the factors in that. And so, you know, like I did it. I'll tell my kids
not to do it.
No. It'll be their own choice. But I'll tell my kids my experience and that I love your mom. We got married and things are fantastic. But I wish I hadn't kissed her, because it leads to that road of like, okay, now you're really cuddling up to each other, and then you kiss, and it's like, okay, well, that's a whole different level of stuff, you know. And so
it means you've now pushed your relationship to the next level.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, you know, turning up the heat on that frog in the pot, doing it a little slowly. Soon you're boiling water and you didn't even know it. And so again, I think that's one of those things. It's like, I think it's very important to talk about those things early in the relationship. You know, you go on that first date, you know, second, third date, and it's like, okay, we want to become exclusive, or you know, that we are an item, or we're courting, or whatever terminology you want to use, that we're both engaged with one another, not engaged, we're both very interested in one another and seeking to see if this works in marriage. And then you need to establish boundaries. Yeah. And have your Bible speaking, have the Bible speaking into that, have your parents speaking into that. They probably have already, but it's not necessarily you sit down with them. But it's like, okay, what's healthy? You know, what's going to lead us to be able to be best prepared to determine if we are going to get married? Because one of my college professors, I love the way he said that. He said it that you want to treat the girl that you are pursuing in a way that guards her heart. True. And if you operate that way, oh man, yeah. And if you operate that way, then you don't ever have to worry about seeing her with her future husband if it doesn't work out between the two of you. Yeah. And you don't have any shame.
Yeah, because
he can thank you.
Yeah,
thank you for caring for the one who gave her life to me, gave her name to me. Thank you for caring for her in a way that we could even be friends. Yeah. Like I've got a friend who he dated this girl through high school into college. Like they were serious. Then they broke up. He is now friends with her husband. Actually, he works for her husband. And they have a great relationship because he didn't do anything in that relationship that was damaging to her honor and mistreating her in a way that would make that husband want to fight her.
Yeah, and
fight him, sorry.
That's important. Like how you're bringing it out. That's really important, not to be extremely intimate while you're dating or open yourself to sex, because later on, if it doesn't work, that can really hurt the two of you. Oh, yeah. Which can affect your relationship. And that's why, like, when people break up when they've engaged in sexual activity a lot, it's hurtful. They cannot even hang out in the same room because there are emotions and feelings running across. But if you had not done anything, you were just talking and preparing yourself for marriage, it's easy for you to engage with these people and have a good conversation and even invite them on your space.
Yeah, like I don't want to paint it too rosy. You know, like I think that there are still a lot of negatives that come from breaking up. Yes. If something doesn't work out, it doesn't mean like, hey, we're buddies. Like, especially if you don't agree, you know, if you think that you should get married to girl A and girl A thinks absolutely not and breaks it off, it'll be very hard for you to be in the room with that lady, whether you slept together or not.
True.
So there's those factors. But if you have slept together, if you have had sex, then it amplifies all of that, either resentment or that hope that you had. Like all of that becomes intertwined, much more so for the woman than the man, but still it's there for man, especially, you know, and this goes back to a discussion on pornography, but especially when it's like, you know, that person naked, like you have been with each other, you know them literally inside and out. And so when you are together, it's hard to not remember that. And then when you are with your wife, those images are still there and possible to be recalled. So that all comes back to that boundary. Like, okay, where do you set the line in a dating relationship that is healthy? You know, I think that there's some clear lines, you know, sex and whether that be going to home base or third base, like all of those things where it's like, oh, well, you know, is oral sex okay? You know, it's not actual. It's like, yes, it's still sex.
Yeah, it's still sex.
And so what benefit is it? Well, a man has needs. It's like, well, listen, bro, like you're not a freaking machine. It's not like at 3:00, ding, and this has to happen. It's like, no, you are created in the image of God with your own
self-control.
Yeah. And you have to exercise that. I've read there's a book called The Life You Always Wanted by John Ortberg, and it's all about discipline and spiritual disciplines. It's really good. And he talks in there about how there's a research that talks, that articulates the point that discipline has really two facets. Discipline of abstinence, meaning I'm not going to do that, and then discipline of indulgence, where it's I'm going to do that. And they're two separate kind of avenues, and each can be exhausted and strengthened to their own levels. So you might be really good at saying, I'm not going to drink, I'm not going to have sex, I'm not going to swear, I'm not going to do X, Y, Z, but terrible at I'm going to wake up and read my Bible. They're two different discipline types. Yeah. One is abstinence, the other one is indulgence. And you have strengthened your abstinence and being able to say, I'm not going to do those things, but you have not worked on the other. And so these two disciplines coming together is and strengthening them before marriage, before settling down, as you might say, is super important.
It is.
Because there's going to be, one of my college professors challenged and said, okay, what if you wait to get married and you wait to have sex till you get married, both you and the spouse that you have found. And you're so thrilled that you get to offer this gift that you have saved your entire life for. And on the drive from the wedding reception to the hotel, you get in a car accident. And you're unable to perform, or the other person is unable to perform the rest of your life. That is not on the table. Wow. You have structured and chosen a person that you love, even if that part is removed. And it's like, that to me flies in the face of like, well, men have needs and this girl's got to, it's like, no, like you need to be disciplining yourself and establishing in yourself a heart.
And if you can get that discipline at an early stage, because like in marriage, you understand, like probably later on we'll talk about this topic, but like in marriage, you'll understand the point where you have to abstain for a period of time. So and if you didn't have that discipline, then that becomes really hard.
Yeah, and actually, when I was in college, I observed kind of these two different strengths at work. I had friends who would be really good at indulgence, like, hey, we're going to pray together, we're going to do Bible study together, and they were strong in that. But they would also maybe be messing around with each other, right? Then on the flip side, you'd have people that were not going to do X, Y, Z, but they also didn't have these Bible studies, they didn't indulge and focus. And I think that dating, this environment, is it's an important journey towards your marriage. You know, it's not just you're out just doing this for fun. It's like, no, this is a journey towards marriage. Yeah. And every part of the journey can be very useful if you decide, or if you take the full picture and play on that I am looking to get married, meaning I want to be honoring to the person I'm with and hoping that other people have been honoring to him or her. And so I'm going to carry myself, and we're going to carry ourselves in this way. And that will build up our strength for when I am married and now something happens, or I have to abstain, or I need to make sure that I'm doing this or X, Y, Z. I have been building those up in my life. And so I used to be a person that is like dating, you know, like the one you date is the one you marry. Like it was so serious. Like, oh my gosh, like, oh, you know, if I get that girl's number, then it's like I'm thinking back to like how many kids, you know, and it's like no. I've very much softened over time. Actually, after getting married,
it's supposed to be an easy path.
Yeah,
it's not supposed to be a very stressful path. It's supposed to be like a path.
It's supposed to be a bath, not a bath. It's supposed to be a path with weight.
Yes.
You have responsibility, but also not burdensome.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, it's so heavy. I can't do it. It's just like, come on, listen. And this is I have a friend who I'm trying to help him guide through. I have helped him try to guide through dating situation. And it's like, listen, like you can't take it so seriously. And that's kind of where I have changed over the years. It's like you go from this.
But I think it depends as well with age, It depends with age. If they are older, sometimes is when they take it a bit serious because like you feel like you're out of time.
Yeah, but my question would be then is it helpful? Is it helpful to be so serious and so heavy with this that then everything matters so much? It's like, listen, talk to multiple women, but not in a way that is that I guess you like, especially like online dating or that type of thing where it's like, hey, I'm building a relationship with you because we're both single and we might have this possibility, and I'm also talking to this other person. There's going to become a point where it's say, listen, I really think that we can try to work this out. Let's start dating. Then these others stop.
But like the question now that I'll ask you to,
and hold on. That to me is a huge shift from even before I was married, because to me it's like if you get too serious, then it actually becomes damaging for the people because your expectations get so high.
Yes.
And so if you lower them down, understand that let's just, I'm going to go on a group date with 2 or 3 people or 4 people and, and then this other one, we'll do the same over there. But to me, it's like, one, it's not something I would ever do in secret. Like, it's like, I'm going out with some other friends and there's a lady that I might be interested in there. And when it comes to a point where, and this is probably going to get pushback from ladies or men, that it's like, no, I don't know that I would like to be treated that way, right? But again, my perspective on what I am talking about is within the confines of, one, you're not sleeping around, you're not making out with these people, you're not even kissing them. You might go on a date or 1 or 2, and it's understood that it's like, that this is not, we are not together, we are not an item, we're not dating, we're not courting, or sorry, not dating, like we're not exclusive.
Yeah.
And again, I don't want this to lead into like, okay, so you're fine with guys being players. No, not at all. That's sinful. You're deceiving other people and manipulating people emotionally. But very much that it's, let's keep this as light as possible but also understanding that we have a weight, right? And that action.
But somehow, don't you think you're still already becoming exclusive with this person? And like now the question that I was going to ask, partly you've answered, where like it's not heavy because like there's emotion already, because when you seclude this person and show those kind of interests, when you're spending time with them, and because you'll be discussing things to do with how you want to do life, and you're getting these people closer and closer to you. And I'm thinking, for how long can you do that? For how long? What's the time frame of being with these multiple people before you can choose?
No, it's a good question.
That you're going to be exclusive with.
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think that I don't think there's a rule.
Yeah.
2 weeks. I don't think it's anything like that because you could talk with one lady, you could you could be talking with multiple ladies, right? Or you could be talking with multiple men, and then you go on your first date with this other person, and let's do a breakfast thing, and I've got this meeting, but it goes fantastically. You cancel your meeting in the afternoon. You spend that whole day with that person, and you realize this person is so much above these others. But you've been talking to these other ones for 3 weeks. So no, this one day, now I tell these other guys or I tell these other girls, hey, I think I'm pursuing another person right now, and I'm looking to be exclusive with them because I really think that they have a lot to offer. And that communication, I think, is essential. You can't just keep leading people on in case this one drops out. Because ultimately, when you tell that person, I had an awesome time with this other person, and then if this doesn't work, and we need to stop, and then if this doesn't work out, you've actually raised your trust with this person.
Yeah.
Because they know if something's going on that you will tell them.
Yes.
As opposed to them, you're going to keep them on for 3 or 4 months, and then you tell them, oh, yeah, I'm going to go exclusive with this other person. That's a lot of emotional damage, manipulation, whatever you want to call it, fancy terms. Is like that's violated trust, I think, and I think that exists in the dating scene, that it's like we're going to interact in a way until we think that we're at a point where it should be just the two of us. And again, I don't know how to phrase this to keep players or guys who, in particular, guys who will play the field from abusing it. But it's like, I just want to lighten the load.
Yeah, because there's a high chance that can be abused.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Not even a high chance. It's a guarantee somebody would take that and say, oh, okay, sweet. I'm going to talk to 15 ladies and be making out with, you've already broken it, dude.
Yeah, because I think there's a point where someone will not know what, because you see, you'll go there, you'll tell them you like them probably. You understand? Like if you tell that to multiple women, because what you're talking about is more like going to date, but like, okay, I'm doing this. I'm trying to wonder how
you could do it with honor.
How you can do it without. For me, I was thinking like probably, okay, you've seen one person, you think you like them, you talk them. They are basically just friends, but you just talk normal conversation. Just normal conversation about life.
Intimate conversation or normal conversation?
Intimate conversation like...
Ding.
Yeah, intimate conversation like... for me, when I was dating, when I started dating my wife, I was talking to other women. But like... And my wife, it was a phone call that made me know that this was going to be my wife. She was different from every other woman that I was talking to.
Okay, so why are you asking me now? Okay, so now you look at this guy. Hey, wait. So what did you do then? When after that conversation with your wife where you're like, this is it. Meaning in your head, now this is exclusive.
Yeah. Now I was thinking,
what did you do for the other ladies now?
For the other ladies, it was more of a friendship. It was not more of a deep friendship. No, hold on a second. No. You just said your wife wasn't the only lady you were talking to. Yeah, I was talking to...
Now, mind you, she wasn't his wife. So you were talking to multiple ladies.
Yes.
With the intent that they could be something more.
There was a possibility.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so, and then one of the ladies, your wife, who is fantastic, won out.
Yes.
She won.
Yeah, she did.
And you had carried yourself in a way with these other ladies that you didn't, you're not sleeping around.
Yes.
And so how then did you tell your wife that you had other lady friends?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so good. That open honesty. And you still married this girl after telling her that. Yeah. So many people will be like, man, if you tell a lady, then she'll be gone and that'll be... It's like, no. There is proof here that kind of conversation can happen. So one, she knew.
Yeah, she knew.
And then two, did you establish with her that you would then become exclusive?
I did.
Okay, and then how did you tell the other ladies? Did you tell them or did you just stop talking to them?
I did. I remember texting one, and because when we were talking, we were supposed to...
Girl A or your wife?
Girl A.
Okay.
we were supposed to make a decision if we are going to date or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you had open conversation. Again, this
Open
is super
conversation.
important.
Yeah, open conversation.
We can't be scared of these things, right? Like, hey,
cannot.
listen, you're really pretty,
Yeah,
and I think we might date.
yeah,
Let's hang out and see
Yeah.
if this could be something.
yeah.
You know, and okay. So you had it.
And after we had a number of dates. Like we did like 2 or 3, 3. I think 3. We did breakfast. We did 2 dinners. We did 1 breakfast and 2 dinners. But
Then your wife came in and was like, "This dude is
Yeah.
mine." So then you.
as we continued the conversation, and then I realized no, we are not really compatible in quite a lot of things, and
And you just told her, and then you left.
telling
Okay.
her was a bit hard.
Oh, of course.
Because they're invested emotionally, and they'll love to be.
Maybe.
Maybe they'll love to be your girlfriend.
Yeah.
And that, but for you, this will not lead to marriage, and with that conversation, you're thinking how do I break this to them? But I gained courage, and I was like, I don't think we are compatible to carry on with this type of friendship.
So I think it's really important that you note here,
Yeah.
not you, the
The
viewers,
viewers.
that you note that the way you even go about in a breakup
Yeah.
or a ceasing of progression is important. That even your responsibility to protect and value that other person's heart matters even then. Well, they're not going to be my responsibility anymore. I'm not pursuing them anymore. Again, you want to be able to see that person and their future spouse and not have any worries.
Yeah, true.
And that you can't remove the fact that somebody might be sad
Yeah.
or feel offended.
Yeah.
But you can carry yourself and understand that, like you are just articulating, that you felt the weight.
Yeah.
It was hard to tell her. If you didn't care about the person, you just say, hey,
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to you anymore.
Yeah.
We're done. Click. That's a jerk way to do it. That's not honoring to the other person.
And you give them the reason. I give them the reason. why.
Yeah.
And
There's this girl and she's fantastic. I know you really don't want to hear this, but there's this awesome lady.
I give them the reason because now Lady B I think we did 2 dates, and later on for her she was too quick, and she asked me, where is this leading to? And after the second date I had to be open and say I think we can just be good friends. I think we
Do you still talk to that person?
once in a when we meet in church,
okay.
not the current church, the previous church that I used to go to.
Okay.
When we meet, I'll say hi.
And it's not
because she was a friend, the circle
Exactly.
of my friends, she still comes there, and
That's great.
I'll say hi.
You don't have to
I'll ask them how are they doing. One is married, and how is your husband? How's
Awesome.
life?
Yeah. Now, this
You see-
goes back to that idea, the difficulty of the discipline of pain or the discipline of regret.
Yes.
You get to only choose one of those two. You disciplined yourself and say, I'm not going to be sleeping with all these ladies and trying to play the field and satisfy my needs or whatever, however you want to put it.
Yeah.
And now, because you had chose the pain of discipline, you don't regret all of these interactions. You can go and show your face boldly and brightly to them and their spouses. Whereas if you didn't choose the pain of discipline, you'd be getting that pain of regret of I slept with that lady.
And it's for me, it was not even about sleeping with them. For me, it was about honoring the person that I was going to marry. Imagine you're in this society together and you've already slept with 10 women in that place.
That's a low number, and I know in America that'd be a low number.
Yeah. Imagine you're in this church congregation, and when you look around, is you can see 2, 3, 4 people that you've slept with. They know your wife. For me, I knew it will be honoring for my wife, if she was exclusive to me. that is special for her.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You understand? And the reason why I can still talk with these other ladies is because I did not sleep with them. I did not. And probably some of them felt bad because I did not pursue the relationship the way maybe they desired. And that's part of life. Because like now, you pursue something that you think
Yeah.
makes more sense to you or has a future, or you're compatible, or you can have those conversations. You need your wife to be, or the person you're dating to be your wife, to be someone that you love, you understand, your friends. If you get that, then I think you'll have a good marriage.
Okay, so you mentioned just a second ago, just to kind of change gears a little bit, you mentioned just a second ago that these ladies were at your church.
Yes.
So is that where you kind of found your dating pool?
Yeah, for me, like-minded. I'm born again, and if I'm born again, I will not interact with someone who's not born again. The reason being, we will differ in quite a lot of things.
On the most important things.
Yeah, on the most important thing, because like you'll find them probably they do not believe in Christ, they do not believe in God.
They don't have the same anchor for the things that they believe, so
Yeah.
they might be swayed away from other things that you may agree on at that time.
Yeah, true.
But later would be shifted because of enough media pressure or whatever.
Yeah. And for me, it was important, where do I get my wife? And in a church setting, because I'm a born-again Christian, in a church setting, it's easy to get someone that you've got the same principle.
You're like-minded.
You're like-minded. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say. You're like-minded. And that will be easy for your life. Because when you're even doing these dates, it's very clear. But now, if I got someone from the outset, someone that does not have those principles, someone that believes like you can have sex when you meet for the first time, now you see, that will be different. Because like now, we will not be sharing the same values. It will bring insecurity in the first instant, because like, okay, if I cannot offer what you believe in, it means someone else will be offering this for me. And that's important where you get the person you marry. You need to be of the same mind.
But okay, so what about people who have terrible experience with church?
Yeah, I know.
Maybe they believe in Christ, right?
Yeah.
But they have gone to 3 different churches.
Yeah.
They've been manipulated out of tons of money.
Yeah.
They felt like they were abused. Maybe they were even abused by someone in the church.
Yeah.
So like what do we say to those people on where they should be looking?
That happened because there are people who come to church, but like they really do not subscribe to some of the principles that you're supposed to, like a good Christian is supposed to subscribe to. And I know there are a number of people who might be hurt in a church. And how do they air out their grievances? I think probably this should be reported to hierarchies of the church, because I know most of the churches have hierarchy, and I know someone can be helped because like this will be a different topic, because I know of a friend who's been hurt in church, and when you tell them about church, they'll be like, "Are you for real? Like, do you want me to get someone right there? And this person did this to me. This person committed some really bad things around."
Oh yeah.
So yeah. But you see, like that's the problem of now coming to church and not doing your due diligence. Even the book of Paul says, and Paul tells Christian.
Did you say the book of Paul?
Yeah. No. Not the book of Paul. Not the book of Paul. Corinthian. Yeah. I know Paul is the writer. Paul is the author.
One of those 13. Let's put them all together. We'll just call it the book of Paul.
Paul is the author, and he talks about even when you're being preached upon, it's good to examine. You understand? Examine.
This, I think, actually comes to the core of the issue.
Yes.
That people will go and they will expect to receive only.
Yes.
But was it the Thessalonians that they would receive and then check?
Yes.
And then receive and then check.
Check.
And it's like, no. You don't just get to go sit in the pews.
Yeah.
You are accountable for following the leaders that you
Yeah.
follow. God even talked about the condemnation for Israel's leaders, but then
Yes.
also for the people who decided to follow the leaders.
Yeah.
That there's accountability for both people. Like, oh, well, the leaders were telling us to do this. Yeah, don't follow them.
Yeah.
Well, don't follow them. You're going against your God or your leader. Which one is worse?
Yeah.
Great. So choose me. Don't choose your leader.
Yeah.
And I think that we need to relearn that lesson. That like,
Yeah.
oh, the church hurt me. It's like, well, don't take this statement too broadly. The church hurt me. Okay.
Yeah.
What were your perspectives on the church and your responsibility before that happened? This is not blaming the victim. This is not saying that your church can't ever be hurting people without there being some fault on the people. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that there are many cases where that is the case. Where I just came and I received everything that you said and then allowed myself to be manipulated, and then I'm mad at you for manipulating me. Come on. Like, examine the scriptures. Find a church that encourages you to examine the scriptures,
Yes.
that encourages you to follow with them as they go through them.
Yeah.
If you constantly keep hearing this pastor or whatever talk about giving only,
Yeah.
and then he keeps getting a nicer car and a bigger house, it's like, okay, I know what's happening here. I'm out. Because this is not what the Bible is teaching.
Yeah.
This is what you are wanting to teach to be able to get that sweet ride or whatever.
Yeah.
So that is incumbent on us.
Yeah.
And, oh, this pastor, he's sleeping with this other person. Okay.
We've got
It's-
literally we have massive responsibility even as Christian in that congregation.
sure.
And you understand by the time I know it, you cannot, some instance or situation are usually very innocent, that this person was getting to learn to understand, but like in that particular process, he met a prey, and this prey pounced on them. And that's why, like, even God himself in the Bible, he say, some of you will tell me, I preached and I healed, but he will say, get out of here. I did not know you.
Yeah.
You understand? So there are also wrong people in church. But like the chances of you getting a right person in church is very high than getting that right person.
Getting a person as in someone to date, marry.
Someone to date if you're Christian. Yeah, if you're Christian. Because like if like for example, another thing will be like where many people normally go wrong. I get you love clubbing. You're a night person who likes disco, having a good time. And then I'm a Christian who loves the church. And then I come and then I fall in love with this person. And then immediately I want them to change their life and switch on to my life, which is not possible. And that's why it is so important when you're dating, get the person that, you've got the same values, you're of like mind. That is important in dating.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, we've talked a little bit about boundaries, where to find them. And kind of your main purpose in dating is finding somebody, carrying yourself in a way that is honoring to the person you're interacting with.
Yeah.
And when you are going about that,
Yeah.
it's continual.
Yes.
Whether it's this lady, this doesn't work out, doesn't matter. You had continued all the way through the relationship to honor them.
Yeah.
And I think you talked about that in your experience.
Yeah.
Man, like for me,
Yes.
I grew up in the church, right? My parents made some really bold decisions before I was even born to raise us a certain way, and they did. And man, I would say that pain and discipline, pain and regret thing, dude, I did not engage in discipline. I have so many regrets about very big stuff when I was young. And it affected dating. It affected people that I interacted with dating. And it's just like, it's so stupid.
Yeah.
And it is so painful to look back and know I completely destroyed a witness or a ability to lead somebody to Christ because I wanted something. I wanted a feeling. I wanted a value and placed upon me. It's so freaking dumb. And it's like, it's literally like one of the saddest things to think about, that it's just like, man, you had the opportunity to live for Christ and live well, and you chose to be carnal. You chose to be just of the flesh. And it's so stupid. It's so stupid.
Yeah,
And so
the guilt,
Yeah,
the guilt
no,
that comes with that is not.
I know that God has offered and has granted forgiveness. Like, I know that what Jesus did on the cross is sufficient. I get it. But it doesn't mean I haven't missed an opportunity. And that is a kingdom issue. You know, it's like if you think of kingdom in the military kind of language that the Bible uses to some extent, that we are to be advancing a kingdom. And it's like, I could have gone this way and rescued these people, but I decided to not. And it's dumb. So take it from somebody who has those regrets within dating, within other interactions, even within integrity in general. Like, it's so much worth to go the route of discipline as opposed to the route of regret. And to have those two pains. So we have, it is difficult. I think that is probably one of the most common questions that I get, both in the States and here from people who are single. Where do you, and don't say the church. It's like, well, listen, like, number one, for the rest of your life, you need to be able to select a church that follows the scripture, not to select a church that's fun or is flashy or makes you feel good or has a really good social network. Like, forget all of those things. You want to be in a part of a body and a part of a community that is accountable to the scriptures for what they believe and how they behave. And when you do that, then you will find this is a field or this is a place that has people that would be worth, that would have the same aims as I do.
It is really important, like, because as you've said, the church, and then that also advances into, like, now you get a community that you do life together, that you get responsible, because when you're dating and you're not accountable, chances of you falling into temptation are very high.
Yeah.
Extremely high.
Yeah.
Because this is a beautiful woman. She's beautiful. You're looking at her, you've got all the desires that.
The same thing with a woman. Like, she sees this handsome man, this godly man, like,
and you're like, wow. Like, imagine you just being in a private room together.
With the lights are dim.
Oh my.
Yeah, you know what's happening.
What can go down there?
Like, I wonder why we're here. How you doing? You know?
And then sometimes the Netflix and chill is another risky bit.
Yeah, there's no fruit there.
Because, like, nowadays,
good fruit.
Nowadays, I do not know of any movie that is just normal movie that does not have a sexual scene.
Yeah, that's a whole topic on its own, to be able to get rid of those things.
Which now triggers. Now, when you imagine you're dating, you've decided, like, it's good to go to the theater, it's good to go and watch a movie in the cinema, and it's not that expensive sometimes if you really want to go and watch those movies. If you just, because I know, like, in your house, it's very comfortable, and a little comfort will lead to many things.
And it's also very private.
Yeah. It's very private. If you're a group, then that's okay. If your friends are there, you're watching as a group, that's okay. But if you secluded it to that bit, then that becomes so dangerous.
Yeah, and I think, like, so for our viewers, like, we've got two dudes here who has made mistakes and also done things very well. Yeah. It's worth it to be part of a body that will hold you accountable, to be intimate with a good group of friends that can hold you, again, accountable to the goals and the things that are laid out in Scripture, the goals you have for your life and the goals you have for your future family. And so this stuff is hard. Yes. It is hard to say, no, I'm not going to, go to next base with this person that is smoking hot, that everyone will admit, and they'll be like, oh, you got to do, like, all those conversations would happen.
Yeah.
But I'm going to discipline myself to not go there.
Yeah.
Because, one, it's not what God says is best. So I can trust him. He's proven himself time and time again. But also statistically with happiness in marriage, that exclusivity is... I'll pull up the data sometime for that in a different episode about the people being married when virgin, that type of stuff. But that dating, what you're doing with dating now is setting a foundation for the way that you will behave the rest of your life.
Yeah, true.
Meaning, if you're going to play a bunch of people, what makes you think that habit will just go away when you're married? That poof.
It doesn't.
Exactly.
It doesn't go away. Any habit that you create in your early stage of life, it keeps on coming in. And you remember when we talked about...
And it gets harder to stop it.
You remember when we talked about pornography? It starts as a simple thing. It takes long to go away.
Yeah, and
you
progressively have to work against it.
You might live with it, and you might always be going back to it. And that's the same thing when you're having sex with multiple people, and then you get to a point where now you marry. Your mind doesn't switch off and
doesn't format that drive with all those images and all those feelings and all those touches. Yeah, it doesn't just go away.
And as we are concluding this topic, I want at least for you to give us a perspective of what's the good duration of dating that will not lead into temptation. Because if you date again for too long, you'll be you'll get tempted, because like you cannot be seeing this smoking hot babe.
When you know, you just get married.
Yeah,
that is my perspective. Like when I knew that this lady was my wife before I was even dating her.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this lady's phenomenal. Like our whole journey to that was pretty awesome. Yeah. But even before, so I knew.
Yeah.
That was at the beginning, like October, November, right? Yeah. And then the next summer I proposed.
Ooh.
Said, hey, let's get married. So we didn't even date a year, right? And then she made me wait 11 months of engagement. And I was like, what?
Torture.
What? So I proposed in like June. Flew down to the beach where she was at. Like, she had never told me, but she had always dreamed of being proposed to there. Like, it was great, right?
Ooh.
And then it was like, no, okay, we're going to wait until May of the next year. And I was like, what? Like, I didn't realize how bad of an idea it is. But like, when I talk to people now, it's like, listen, like, and because she wanted in my wife's defense, she wanted a summer/spring wedding, right?
Yeah.
I had kind of blown. I didn't know this stuff. Like, I purposely didn't want to engage in a lot of marriage talk because I wanted the engagement to be a surprise and to be exciting, and to the point where I probably did something bad, but I took a friend's situation where he literally picked a fight with his girlfriend. I did it too well, and my wife was like, I don't know if we might break up. And then I show up and I'm asking her to marry me, Wow.
That was crazy.
But she was very surprised. Anyway.
She was like, so, what's going on?
Yeah, for real. Oh, so yeah, I don't even remember where I was going with that. So now I just tell people, like, when you know, just get married.
Because
like, you can plan a nice wedding in 3 or 4 months. We had 500 people at our wedding, so it was a lot of planning, and she needed that time. Okay, maybe we could have done a fall wedding. Like, okay, but I very much encourage people. So that time limit, I don't think there's a set time, but if you know, why would you wait? Yep. People are like, oh, well, I want to finish college or blah, blah, blah. It's like, you get tax breaks, and, the 2 expenses become one. We're only paying for one home. We're only paying for one electrical bill. So we automatically begin saving.
Yeah, life begins.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my perspective on the time. What's yours on time?
I think I agree with you, because the longer you wait, the more tempted you get.
Oh, for sure.
And
sex is great. Yeah, it's like, why delay? Like, why not just go for it? And again, this is not the focus, but it's like, if you know.
Yeah.
So that means all those other boxes are checked. Like, I can work things out with this person in a conflict. I love them. I want to cherish them. I want to just choose them. Like, all of those things are checked.
Yeah.
So all of these boxes are checked. Why don't we start getting some of the fruit and the fun from the relationship that hasn't been present yet?
True.
So don't delay, because it's fun. Yeah. Progressing into marriage and it is fun. So that time question is done, and I think time-wise, we are set for our interaction with you guys today. Yeah. We appreciate you guys sitting through with us and listening to our experiences, some of our perspectives, bringing some of the biblical perspective into this, and we want to hear what you got to say. You might disagree with a lot of stuff that's said today, but I would challenge you on some of it that Are you opposed to it because of sinful desires?
Yeah.
Are you opposed to it because you're seeing something in Scripture that you think that we're speaking against?
Yeah.
Are you opposed to it just because of your culture? There's two of those things that would be invalid for being able to say that the Bible is that we're seeing something wrong.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear stuff from the Bible, and I know that there's some where I'm kind of in a gray area or treading a line that maybe I'm not articulating well, and maybe I can improve that in the future.
Yes.
Especially when it comes to that. I think your testimony is actually much better than me trying to articulate what it is like to be engaging with multiple people. So thank you for sharing your history on that one.
Please don't forget to subscribe and ask us those difficult questions. There's a question that we might not have covered.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And probably you want to know the perspective of certain things while you're dating. And please interact with us. We will be willing to answer those questions. And I think as we will get also other people next time, if you desire this topic to be expounded on more, we can get other people to give their opinion so that you're not alone. While making this decision, while failing in this decision, we all fail in this decision and we all do well in all of them. So that's what I have to say.
For sure. So thank you guys for watching this episode of Unfiltered Conversation Global. We look forward to seeing you guys at the next episode. We'll see you later.
See you.